I knew, and I was actually giving a speech on radical acceptance to a company who's going through some change, and that was the topic for that upcoming event, was radical acceptance. and and so I had some of those practices fresh in my mind. And so as he was stitching me up, I have this practice of, when it's at the forefront of my mind and I'm able to access that tool, I use the notion of "and this too," where I will use that as a mantra. If something happens, you say, take a breath and you say "and this too." It's akin to the "let them" mantra that's all the rage now. It's Mel Robbins is sort of stamped it as hers, but it's been around for a long time. But I've been using "in this too." And so as he was telling me that he was unsure as the functionality of my mouth going, I remember going, okay, what would radical acceptance look like? Like, you're here. There is no going back. This happened. When you choose differently in your life, when you make a big choice, when you make a bold statement, like moving to another country, taking a new job, ending a bad relationship, you will probably be put into a place of having to radically accept something. And radical acceptance, obviously, the connotation is that there's some stuff that's not fun. There will be pain. There will be grief. And so there I am going, here it is for you, right? And so I'm laying there and he's putting the stitch in. And every stitch I feel it going, I go, "and this too, and this too, and this too." And, which also brought me to the question that I think I'm still wrestling with is, why is this in my life? And maybe, there's this, I kind of got smacked in the face, literally and figuratively, with, you need to come back to yourself, right? Like I felt, I'm talking to a known spiritualist, so I guess I could say this out loud. I felt like spirit was like, hey, over here. Apparently I have to smack you in the face with one of your most favorite things in order to get your attention. But I know that sounds kind of crazy.
No, stop. Okay, we're spiritual people. It's not crazy. I was going to smack you in the face and tell you to come back to yourself before long.
Well, you know what the truth, but to be told, and I've said this to you before on this channel, that like, I watch you move through the world and I see the way you think, and I'm like, I want to fucking think like that. I want to be more connected to that way of moving through the world and that way of thinking. I've gotten very pragmatic, fortunately and unfortunately. But I watch you move through the world, and I'm often in awe of the things that come from your head. And it's because, I was telling someone this about you the other day, is that she spends time in that world. She spends time connected to her soul. She spends time connected to herself. And when she's feeling far away from that, she spends time coming back to reconnect. And I have been thinking about it, talking about it, musing on it, but never really doing it. And I live my life this way. I always say this, that, if the universe, God, the Tao, whatever you want to call it, will send a little pebble your way against your window to get your attention. And that pebble will become a rock. And that rock will become a brick. And that brick will become a flaming boulder being launched at your proverbial home if you don't listen. And I feel like that's what happened. I feel like it was like, you need to come back to your spiritual practice. You need to come home to yourself. You need to make time for that.
Yes.
And, ever since that day, I've been, practicing that, and practicing to come home, as John O'Donohue like to say, come home to the hearth of your own heart.
And how's it feeling?
Pretty fucking good.
Isn't it amazing? It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It is amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all there, right? Like we are so geared towards external validation. We're so geared toward looking to see if someone's noticing or watching or how's that going or did I get an extra 0 at the end of that page, rather than coming home to the hearth of your own heart, coming back to self. And I think that's what life is all about. That's why we're here, to know ourselves intimately. And everything that we do, taking care of our kids and taking care of the bills and, making sure I'm doing a good job at work, all that stuff is great and it's necessary. But we are outsourcing our self-worth on a moment-to-moment basis. And we're forgetting how important it is that we have a relationship to ourselves. I can't have a good relationship with my partner if I don't have a good relationship with myself. If I don't have a good relationship with myself, I can't have a good relationship with my kids. And I'm probably not going to have a good relationship with my work.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going. And it's, some days are better than others. Some days don't feel like I'm tapping into the tapestry of the universe, but it's time well spent. I usually learn something because for me, it's usually like a book, or 4. I'll have sort of thing. The Kindle now is the thing since we moved here because couldn't bring all of our books, and that's kind of good for me. And we'll search through. I feel like that today.
That's what gets you there. That's reading spiritual books is your spiritual practice right now.
Yeah, because I think, my brain is wired to be so practical. And so when I dive into a book like John O'Donohue's book, Anam Cara, or, Illusions, or, these books that speak, it reminds you, that languaging at least reminds me of, and those concepts kind of like open my mind beyond the pragmatism of the day, of the moment. And bring me into that space. So that's what helps. I know that for you, it's often journaling.
Yeah. And it's books, I think it's important to remember that like whatever gets you there, it doesn't matter the modality. It's like whatever gets you there. And, just mediumship has kind of pushed me to practice on a regular basis so that now I can do it without journaling and books. Like I can go there much more easily, much easier. What is it? Much more easily? I have no idea. It's easier now.
It's easier.
But I do love journaling and books and other things. But I guess what I think is beautiful that you're sharing is for someone who's very practical, finding a modality that gets them into that heart and soul space. And whatever gets you there, that's great.
I think it's getting into the body, really. I mean, we spend so much time thinking about our feelings. And I know most people don't want to feel what they're feeling, but getting into your body, that's where that energy lives. That's where that soul space lives. That's where your heart is. And so I think a lot of the time, I read a passage that's profound, and it doesn't just get me thinking, it gets me feeling about the subject matter, and that gets me into my body. I'm like, oh, okay, that feels good. That's where I want to be.
Get you into your heart. Yeah.